Sorry.
Raphael, I mean, honestly, we can do this. Come on, Raphael, keep it down. Hey, that's the every time we're back here with Fireman Three Houses, our verdant wind assassins only run. Everyone, our travels were long. Our journey was arduous. I got pretty salty in the middle. We're here at the end now. It's been a long time coming, about 13 months. We've got to go ask Happy if she would have us to hold and to cherish forever. I've actually got real butterflies in my stomach. Is it a bad sign that I get butterflies over a fake proposal in a make-believe video game? Maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. I'm so excited.
As the flow of time carved a new history for Fogland.
Indeed.
The ambitions of the Fell King Nemesis were crushed.
More gummy bears in this monk. See?
In the history of Fogland. After 5.5 years of war, a new age was set to begin.
About time.
Country.
5.5? Way to lowball it.
All that had once formed the order of the world was wiped clean. The heroes whose very hand saved Fogland from a dark fate.
That one looks kind of like Marianne.
With the building of a new society.
That one looks like Claude. That one looks almost like Nadir.
Of this new
that one looks like Bastion.
Began their walk.
Is this supposed to be Acheron?
Endless path.
Is that Leone?
One towards a world that would cherish differences
I know these
in
people.
race and belief.
Yes!
One where all life would be valued equally.
Booyah!
Those leaders
Success!
clung to the hope that their
Good guys and happiness win.
That it would someday span the seas to Dagda and beyond the throat to Elmira.
It's a lovely tableau, that. Oh, look at the huge-ass dragon in the back. Awesome! Awesome's awesome! But for Hapi, that's not all he needs.
This
Hi.
is quite a place. Whatever you wanted to tell me must be pretty important.
Yeah, It is.
Okay, what's going on? You're making a weird face. It's freaking me out. You're going to rule over all of Fogland, right? Let's talk about that.
Yes, but...
This is a chance to replace the old hollow Church of Saros with something new. Something better. In your new position, you can make that happen.
I can certainly try.
Then do it! Those hypocrites preached about love and decency while shoving folks like me into the shadows. That's a pretty shoddy religion in my book. You can reshape it into something that actually helps people.
Not without
Not
you.
that I need any help, mind you. I can help myself just fine.
So I noticed. That's true.
Oh, there's another thing I meant to talk to you about.
Hmm?
It's,
I have something urgent to discuss.
I know. I'm just nervous, okay? Say whatever you're going to say.
I have something for you.
I knew you were going to do that. I just knew it. Okay, let me tell you why this is a bad idea.
Go ahead.
You know that I'll always be coping with this condition, this curse. It'll always be a part of my life. I feel safe with you, but you'll never feel the same with me.
That is totally untrue. There is no one I would feel more safe with going anywhere than someone who could get a boulder launched at their head and be like, it'll buff out. But also someone with your heart and compassion and all that good stuff as well. I don't just love you because you block incoming axes like they're nothing.
I'm not the kind of person you should get a cat with. Unless you want your cat to be eaten by monsters. Have you thought about all that? I know you care about me. I care about you too. I wish we could spend our lives together. But it just wouldn't be right. I can't let you throw away your own happiness for my sake.
Actually, Happy.
Hold on. You're saying that you imbued this ring with magic?
I did what? Sure I did!
An enchantment that wards off monsters. So, it negates my curse? I'm free?
You're free.
Hang on. That means you weren't really proposing? And here I am talking about getting a cat together. I almost wish a monster would appear just to save me from the embarrassment.
Happy, will you marry me?
Oh, come on. I can't handle all this will we, won't we stuff. My heart's going to pop out of my chest.
I know the feeling.
All right. Thank you for giving me a second to collect myself.
No problem, no problem. As many as you would
Yes,
like.
you weirdo. Of course I'll marry you.
Okay, good. I'm so happy.
Me too. Well, obviously I'm happy.
There it is.
But I'm also, you know what I mean.
Figured that was
I
coming.
appreciate everything you've done for me. You've changed my life in more ways than one.
Nah, I haven't done that
It's
much.
hard not to fall for someone like that. Though, of course, I crush on you from the get-go.
Really? What? No, this is so improbable. Me too.
Oh, forget I said that. I'm all over the place. We don't know what the future has in store for us, but for now, maybe we can forget all that and just enjoy being together.
I would really, really, really like that. Of course.
Good. After all, we worked so hard to get here.
Yeah, oh, don't remind me. There have been some days. I've had enough. If it weren't for you, I don't think I would have made it through, you
Come
know?
closer, will you?
I would have just given up.
Damn, that felt good.
Oh, that's so sweet! I'm gonna cry! Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. It's maybe a bit more idyllic than what I was imagining, actually. I was assuming they were gonna go more for the, I don't care, I'll face whatever trial with you that I have to, but they're just like, nah, Happy just pulled some strings as leader of the free world and then fixed it. Neat! Awesome! Yeah! Sorry, I was out of breath. Yahoo! Yeah, we did it! Oh, that was so cute. I'm so happy about that ending. I can't wait to see where the end card as well. Let's look up the MVPs before we carry on too far here. My end review altogether won't be too much longer than, or will be a bit shorter, I reckon, than Azure Moon, because a lot of it I don't need to say anymore. So we had Leone, myself a few times, Lysithea, Happy, Lysithea, Leone, Hoppy, Ignatz, Tales of the Red Canyon. Oh, that's the one with all the monsters, right? Man, we did actually have quite a diverse assortment of MVPs, and we're all thieves at this point. Ignatz, Lysithea, Hoppy, Lysithea again. Hoppy and Lysithea are doing a lot, though, as is Happy. Fallen short of heaven. And then Hilda at Salvation at the Chapel, which is... Oh, right, that's the one you do with all the monsters. That makes sense. She's pretty good fighting monsters. And I'm an assassin at this point now. Sword and Shield of Ceros. Oh, that's when you go help Luis and stuff at the docks. The Sealed Force near 94 turns. Lysithea, right, we were fudging it for some weapon experience, weren't we? And then Hoppy, Leone, Catherine. Oh, cool, Catherine got one at the end of White Clouds. Claude, of course, got Hunting by Daybreak. Raphael got Protecting Garrett Mock. This is so cool that we actually had a pretty diverse crew. Like, even though Leone and Claude were some of our most powerful units, MVPs were shared between a whole bunch of other people as well. Raphael, Leone, Claude's... Petra got one in the Forgotten Hero Paralogue. Which one is that? Oh, Marianne, right? Oh, yeah, right. Because we pulled the strings to get to wreck the boss. Claude, the Great Bridge Coup, Happy on the Face Beneath Paralogue, because she was tanking everything in that. To Warwick Gronder, Marianne got a lot of the takedowns, of like the 2 takedowns we got those ones. Foreign Land and Sky Paralogue, Claude got that, of course. Legend of the Lake Raphael. Happy got taking Fort Mercius. Lauren's got Eternal Guardian. Sweet, we got one for Lauren's. Is there anyone who hasn't got one? Claude, Ignatz, Petra, Scythia, Raphael. Raphael also got a fair number, and that was at Shambhala. So now we're at the last one for the Freedom of Fodlan, Claude. So what do we do with the deer? Claude, Lawrence, Leone, Lysithea, Marianne, Hilda, and then Hoppy, Ignatz, Raphael, Catherine, Petra, Happy. I think they all got one MVP at some point, didn't they? Sick! Kind of makes sense since we were all the same class that we would have some similar luck with that. And now for the endings. There are going to be a whole lot of these since we got recruited everybody. Sorcery Incarnate, Constance, for her service in the war. And her innovations in magic, Constance von Nouvelle was among the first to receive peerage in the Newfoundland. For generations thereafter, her noble house was valued as a leader in magical research and development. Good for you, scientist extraordinaire. Also, I just got to throw out there, I absolutely love the way this theme starts with that. Like it's like almost like a scare chord, but it fills that feeling of yeah that you get, like that ecstasy when you see a nice sweet romantic scene at the end of this game after taking on a huge, difficult boss. Yuri, Underground Lord. After Fodlan had healed from the war, Yuri's organization spent the next few decades cultivating and controlling illicit markets. Not coincidentally, wherever Yuri's underground business thrived, so too did orphanages and almshouses. For the awe and respect his generosity earned him among the downtrodden, Yuri came to be known as the Underground Lord. Very good to hear. I always knew you'd do well, Yuri. Traveling merchant Anna's business savvy proved to be a great asset in the post-war reconstruction of Garreg Mach. Once the restoration was complete, she disappeared from the area entirely, though tales of mysterious merchant were passed down in every corner of the world for centuries to come. Some say she continues her travels even to this day, eternally peddling her wares and ever in search of the next lucrative opportunity. Anna kind of defies space-time continuum and constraints, doesn't she? So that tracks. Zero, limitless potential. Unable to serve Freya any longer, Cyril never really left the church. Is that because I guess she does she technically die in this road? They kind of leave it ambiguous, I guess. Like, it's implied that she's gonna, but they don't ever, like, say, yeah, she's dead now. Although I guess that unable to serve Freya any longer is kind of what that means. Cyril nearly left the church. He was persuaded to stay, however, to assist in rebuilding the monastery he had helped maintain. Thanks to his devoted work ethic, the Officers' Academy was able to reopen a few years later. That's pretty impressive. When the new students took the reception hall, Cyril found himself among them. Oh, cool. And he was, like, in his 20s at that point. Like, 26, I guess, which is about where what the age Mercy was when she enrolled. But he has a bit of a leg up on them, I would say. The other students. Distant archer Shamir. Shortly after the war, Shamir gave up the mercenary life and disappeared, though she was never heard from again. Rumors swirled persistently for years of a master archer turned thief who lined her pockets by shaking down all those who preyed upon the innocent. At least she was, targeting jerks, but I mean, she's kind of doing the same thing as them, in a way. See you later, Shamir. Divine songstress Manuela. Manuela left Garreg Mach to build her own academy in a small war-torn town. There she contributed heavily to the rebuilding efforts, while teaching future generations the necessary skills of survival. Though she never married or had children of her own, she spent the last years of her life happily devoted to her students. Good work, Manuela. Father of Christology, Hanneman. I imagine will have a similarly successful story. Though Fodlan had changed, Hanneman's goal remained unwavering, to determine the workings of the crests and do away with the inequality caused by them. To that end, his research resulted in magical tools that could be used even without the aid of crests. This proved to be yet another worthwhile discovery by the father of Christology. So he didn't exactly take them away, but I guess those are the tools that you get in the New Game Plus that let you basically have the same effect as crests. He designed it so that they don't control you too much, because you can just go buy some. Buy some crests. Slumbering Princess Flayn. Flayn disappeared soon after the war, and over time it was all but forgotten that she had ever existed. Many long years later, however, a young woman resurfaced in a completely transformed Fodlan. When she looked at the man who stood beside her, she wondered if it would be alright, in this new era, to call him father. But Sedith wasn't there, so I guess perhaps he ended up with one of our actual main units. Ingrid Stalwart Knight. When Galatea territory was seized, Ingrid argued strongly for the preservation of its borders. Her request was granted, and she was appointed to rule. I guess that was seized by us, is what they mean. From her new position, she gave her all to ensure that the people of Galatea lived peaceful lives. They say Galatea, I guess. Lived peaceful lives and put in years of hard work to reform its farming practices. Her efforts bore fruit to the people's delight, and Galatea became a land of plenty. Loomed overachiever, Annette. Annette returned to her hometown of Ferdiad, where she took up a teaching position at the Royal School of Sorcery. I think you're one of the most qualified, too. She was a gifted instructor, and many of her students went on to become world-renowned sages. Though her talent for teaching was remarkable in its own right, she was perhaps best remembered for effortlessly securing the trust and respect of her many students, as well as inspiring all who knew her by living a life of kindness, cheer, and humility. Sounds like the Annette I know. And not too far away was Mercedes, who left home and went to Garreg Mach, where she became a model cleric. She devoted the whole of her life to the service of the goddess and became well-loved by the people who revered her for her piety and her boundless generosity toward those in need. Sylvain, sincerest of knights. As Margrave Gautier, Sylvain devoted his life to improving relations with the people of the Sreng region. With oration alone, he succeeded in helping create a new way of life for nobles, in which relics and crests were no longer viewed as necessary. Though he went down in history as an extraordinary lord, it nevertheless became customary to refer to cheaters as sons of Gautier. Some reputations never die, eh, Sylvain? Good on ya. Arrow of Justice Ash. After the war, Ash was formally knighted and appointed the new head of House Gaspard, which had no successors. His warm, sincere attitude toward his subjects was praised all over Fodlan, and Ash was finally recognized as the ideal knight he'd always hoped to be. His deeds live on in countless tales. I want to read one. Go you, Ash! Meandering sword, Felix. Even after the war's end, skirmishes continued to break out across Fodlan. Bored and restless in his capacity as Duke Fraldarius, Felix abandoned his title, jumping at the opportunity to wield a sword again. Little is known of his whereabouts thereafter, but even many years later, soldiers continued to whisper rumors of a mysterious man able to deal swift death to scores of enemies. Good for you also, that's a little darker. Mystical songstress Dorothea, so did not end up with Petra. Dorothea returned to the Middle Frank Opera as soon as the war was over. Thanks to her talent, the company enjoyed a resurgence in popularity that lasted well beyond the end of her own career. Once she gave up her position as a songstress, she settled down to a private life of peace and quiet. It is said that she was very happily married. Good for you, even though I ship Dorothea and Petra. It's fine, they don't have to get together on every route. I guess. Eternal Loner Bernadette. You know, they had their A support, and I guess that means they're gonna go hang out in Bridget at some point. which is nice. As soon as Bernadetta inherited House Varley from her father, she withdrew from all political discourse and focused solely on the management of her own territory. Because of this, and her penchant for spending long periods of time in hibernation, she became known throughout the house's history as the Bear of Varley. Bernie Bear, a legend. Oh, Caspar, so he didn't end up with Hilda in the end. Roaming instigator. After the war, Caspar set out alone on a journey of self-discovery. He traveled to every corner of Fodlan and even ventured abroad now and again. It is said that he got into mischief at every turn, but that the victims of his antics, always more amused than harmed or offended, remembered him fondly and passed those stories on to future generations. Happy for you, Caspar. Good on ya. Sleepy Crest scholar Linhart. Linhart abandoned his inherited position in favor of a carefree life at Garrigmock Monastery. Neat, he hung around here, I guess, in his old room. There he spent his days at ease, whiling away the hours at the fishing pond or in his private study. Oh, he got a private study. Neat. I guess I offered him that. After his passing, a treasure trove of documents was unearthed, revealing the key discoveries he had made during his many years of Crest research. He couldn't be arsed to actually tell anyone, but at least he wrote it down. Noblest of nobles, Ferdinand. After reclaiming the title of Duke Eyre, I guess that house is still kicking. Ferdinand set out about reforming his territory. I mean, I guess we didn't just, raze every house to the ground. That would be more work than just saying, you're an alliance house now, but you're the same house. He overcame numerous obstacles to help the lands of Ire recover, and in recognition of those achievements, he was invited to take part in helping to govern all of Fodlan. I did what? But sure, Ferdinand, I'm proud of you for overcoming that stuff with you and Edelgard. King of Grappling, Balthus. 6 battles, look at you go. Balthus disappeared shortly after the war, but rumors of his exploits swirled for a long time thereafter. Some say he returned to Kapala, where he became a protector of the mountain folk. Others say he remained right under the Garrigmock's nose as a prominent underworld figure. Whatever the truth, the tale of his domination in the first ever All-Fodlan Tournament Brawl is likely too persistent to be a fabrication. I was wondering why he wasn't with the other wolves, but I guess it's because it's ordering them in the amount of battles they did. So we're going to see, Mercedes show up in a bit here. Oh! Catherine and Seth ended up together. Neat! Heir of Purpose and Free Knight Catherine. 553 battles, 148 victories. A bunch of us for sure have to have hit 999 battles. After the war, Sedith fully confessed his love to Catherine and asked her to marry him. Refusing to remain at the monastery, however, Catherine declined. Over the years, as Sedith worked to rebuild the church, he continued to write love letters to Catherine. Her answer was always the same. Finally, when the rebuilding effort was complete, Sedith left the church and went to see her, declaring his love anew. With no more reason to refuse him, she at last accepted his proposal. The two were wed and swore to walk side by side together through the new age. That's cool also because Sedith has said before that his old wife and kind of his type is the quiet, proper type, and Catherine is anything but. Refusing to remain at the monastery, however, though, so I guess Rhea is pretty gone then. I know I said it in Azure Moon, but man, I love how this theme has little motifs from basically every battle theme and a bunch of other important themes. Well, good job, Sedith and Catherine. That's kind of a cool one because I did like their support chain. Leonie and Alois, the Bladebreaker 2, 730 battles, 193 victories. And son of the Knights, Alois. That's son, not child. Leonie joined up with the mercenaries formerly led by Geralt as his greatest apprentice. She quickly took on a leadership role and eventually even inherited the title Bladebreaker. No matter where she went, however, she was burdened with Geralt's unpaid tavern tabs. Angry with Alois for pushing these debts upon her, she went to Garrigmock to force him to pay half the debt. She encountered a smiling Alois who had become captain of the Knights of Saros and was all too happy in his new prosperity to take the debts back on. It is said that Leonie developed quite the drinking habit once she was free to visit taverns whenever she liked. Oh dear. Not a good habit to emulate. But good for you, Leonie, becoming the Bladebreaker too. I think if you get this pairing in Crimson Flower, because the Knights are no more, because the church is no more, it's like Alois was just is just retired and chilling on a lawn chair somewhere when she finds him. But good for both of you. In spite of all the scams you endured, Alois, I'm happy to hear you're in news prosperity as the captain of the Knights. Wait, that's so cool because they both get to live up to his thing, because Geralt used to be captain of the Knights and he also used to be leader of the Mercs, and so she gets to be leader of the Mercs and he gets to be captain of the Knights. Oh, that's dope. They're both carrying on his legacy. Laurens and Lysithea, noble of the Red Rose, 575 battles and 171 victories, and Lysithea, 391, Scholar of Misfortune, 391 battles and 203 victories. She did less fights, but she won more when she did them. Because that was sort of her thing, was being a one-hit wonder. As the new head of House Gloucester, Laurens first worked to restore his own territory and then expanded his vision to include reforms for all Fodlan. At the height of his storied political career, he announced his marriage to Lysithea. Though the only daughter of the former Count Ordelia had already renounced all claim to nobility, the people happily accepted their union. She rarely appeared in public due to health concerns, but it is said that a great many policies credited to Laurens were actually her ideas, which tracks. Good for you two! It is a shame that this is one of the endings where she didn't it doesn't mention if she found a solution to the shortened lifespan thing, so it's assumed that she didn't, but sounds like she lived a happy and fulfilling life nonetheless, and in spite of renouncing her noble title initially. They still got hitched? Well, and she still was able to put her, mastermind brain to work. Good for you two! Have a good life! Raphael and Ignatz, Beast of Leicester, 630 battles and 194 victories, and Worldly Artist, 558 battles and 171 victories. Raphael returned to his hometown to serve his liege lord as a knight, and spent his spare time helping out at the inn that his family had opened during his time away. He was compelled to give up knighthood and manage the inn full-time, however, when his sister Maya suddenly declared her ambition to become an artist and vanished. Years later, when she finally returned, she did so in the company of another artist, her husband Ignatz. With cheerful support from Raphael's family, Ignatz and his wife rose to prominence, and with their unique style set the artistic paradigm in Fodlan for a generation. Too sweet, that is. Bet you guys never thought you'd be family, huh? Ain't that weird? Marianne and Hilda! Survivor of the curse. Marianne, survivor of the curse. 557 battles and 203 victories, and Free Spirit Hilda, 649 battles and 168 victories. I guess she did a lot of archery helping out. And especially anyone who was doing a lot of tanking, which I wouldn't have said Hilda was. Will have way more battles than victories. After returning to their respective homes, Hilda and Marianne stayed in touch and deepened their friendship through letters. Hilda informed Marianne that her passion for crafting fashionable accessories had given her the idea to start an artisan academy, and in response, Marianne pledged the financial support of the House of Margrave Edmund. Soon, artisan schools began to appear all over Fodlan, producing talented craftsmen and high-quality trade goods, which contributed greatly to the prosperity of Fodlan, which is very helpful considering we blew it up a minute ago. The accessories sent to Marianne personally by Hilda became some of the most highly valued treasures in history. You two crazy kids, go off and enjoy your life together. I'm so happy. And Claude and Petra, very sweet. King of Unification, of course, has dodge tank, 999 battles. He's broken the counter. And 162 victories. And Petra, 642 battles and 151 victories. Queen of Bridget and King of Unification. Man, so they were like two monarchs ruling together. That's so cool. Claude left Fodlan entrusting its future to his friends. He intended to travel to his homeland of Elmira, but his love for Petra instead drew him west to Bridget. He won her affection, and after receiving the blessing, it sounded like she kind of already had it. She said she was going to tie him up and bring him there, whether he liked it or not. He won her affection, and after receiving the blessing of her grandfather, the King of Bridget, the two were wed. Some years later, each inherited their respective thrones. As the monarchs of Bridget and Elmira, Petra and Claude fostered friendly diplomatic relations between the two regions and Fodlan. That is so cool! I absolutely love them, and if that's Claude, that means... guess who's next? Oh my god, she has so many more battles and victories than me. Ruler of Dawn Hapi, 716 battles and 180 victories. Freed Spirit Hapi, and 878 battles and 189 victories. After ascending to the throne as the first leader of the United Kingdom of Fodlan, Hapi announced his marriage to Hapi. Her disquieting lineage earned her more than her fair share of detractors, but over time, as the royal couple restored Fodlan together, the people came to appreciate her competence and taciturn wit. Some years later, and her sweet and good heart. Some years later, though, when those who slither in the dark emerged to threaten Fodlan once again, it is said that Hapi's strength was instrumental in dealing with them. I have no doubt. That totally fits with what we saw. I'm so happy for you, too. That's so good. Between that last final battle, the way that went, that was so much fun, and between the way all the endings ended up, so too sweet. I think I'll skip through the staff credits because it will be the same as we had it last time, just so I can actually focus a bit. If you want to see the credits, go watch the end of Azure Moon. I'll just save that to file too in case I ever want to see that ending again. Maybe if the recording messes up, I can record it again. So, here we are at the end. So many emotions, so many things. I really liked that ending with Hapi. Maybe just a bit cheesy that we were able to just say forget about her curse, but is it what I wanted to happen? Yes. I know I say this a lot in this game in particular, but oh my god, that was dreadful. What a horrific idea, and how poorly executed this run was, but still, in many ways, in most ways, a heck of a lot of fun. I think I predicted it around the beginning of this run that it would be a lot easier later on. It would be very hard in the early stages. I didn't realize it would also have take like a difficulty spike in the middle with like Ferdinand's paralog and stuff. But at the same time, it's not terribly unviable to have a team of all assassins. The real trick is you would want like at least 2 mages for long range healing, and being able to heal someone without it being their turn kind of thing. But other than that, we still were able to do a fair bit of magic. Like I would probably take a balanced team over this, but this had some crazy benefits. Of course, by the end, lethality was coming out like every 2 seconds, and we could almost rely on it as a mechanic instead of just being like a novelty, like, that was funny, we got a lethality. Because at some point, it's just probability, right? Like, if you have a bunch of people who have like a 10 or 5 to 10% chance of this thing happening, and you throw out 20 attacks, pretty good chance one or two of them will be lethality. So it's easy to clear a room sometimes as these people for that reason, especially also as the high dex and speed means not getting doubled too much. Very much, I was surprised at how little we were getting doubled even still with our slower people in this run. But yeah, actually, an absolutely amazing crits, Leone being the obvious example, but even then, everyone else was getting some pretty sharp ones too. Lacithia was outstanding with some of those, and Raphael, whenever he got a surprise crit because of his high strength, It was just outstanding. So why don't I quickly, like when I did National Moon, I actually did this during the ending sequence. I went through every character and I said how they fared in the role we put them as. But since I didn't do that, let's do it now, since I've got them all lined up here. Lawrence was an interesting case, as he usually is with most classes. The thing is, his growths are all sort of so middle of the road that it's purely up to luck. It's like he either really excels in one area or really falters in it. And it's completely unpredictable for which stats. Like strength, magic, defense, and res are all very like close by usually. In his case, he exceeded, I think his defenses ended up being a bit more than his offensive power. So he lagged behind in offensive power a bit, but because we were already making him to a weapon master, it wasn't too bad because we were able to, give him some good weapons, and we were pretty sure he wouldn't miss and all. And because of his health and defenses both rocketed skyward, he was made a pretty solid tank in many positions, even when he was getting doubled, because his speed wasn't overly impressive. It was pretty middle of the road for our team. It made it so that even when he was getting doubled, he usually survived with 64 health and all that. And once I realized his magic and strength were about equal, to give him the 11 sword as a little, give a bit of damage variety in there, worked out quite well. So good. With Lawrence, it worked out alright. But just alright, probably, is how I would put it. Marianne! Surprisingly quite effective as a rogue, because she is pretty fast. Well, not that much farther faster than Lawrence, but she was usually one of our more evasive characters and had some pretty good luck with that. And I think maybe that, combined with the ability to go through, some of these levels are a little different than what we had them, because I didn't have the save from right before the fight, so I just skipped ahead from the beginning of the month. So we were all at level 43, and we were a little bit stronger than this in the actual time we did it. Nevertheless, her being able to like run through the woods and then end up in the woods that she was pretty hard to hit because her dodge was already quite good, and then throw out a rain hit with the 11 sword from 308 was pretty solid. She struggled quite a bit at the beginning, though, if I recall correctly, before we got her any like Blute Gong or the 11 sword or any such thing. As with most of our people who are magic oriented, had a really hard time early on. But with her prowess and sword, it made her a shoo-in for this, and also gave her Axe Breaker, so she was quite capable with throwing out Soul Blades on Axe people quite often. I think Assassin Marianne is a very viable thing. It's just a matter of, like, she's normally one of your primary healers, so to lose a good healer is kind of iffy. And, she naturally has much better than magic than strength, although her strength isn't, like, leagues behind her magic, and in our case, her magic didn't grow all that much anyway. Granted, we didn't, have her as a magic class, so there's that. I guess there's the other thing to consider is if Marianne as an assassin would be better in a run where she was not, where she was the only assassin, because then stealth would actually let her do soul blades and take the damage without worrying about being killed on the next turn. Crest of the Beast, though, promises contempt for those who bear it, oh no, was pretty useful, occasionally raising might when using a weapon. In Soul Blade, getting a bit of extra damage on Soul Blade, but also just especially on any axe people who came after her, and she was able to double them back. And of course, her res was still amazing in spite of the fact that she was a rogue, so to have someone who was capable of doing some physical throwdown whilst being able to tank magic quite a bit was very useful. And because an assassin made her fast, when it came to magic tanking, she wouldn't get doubled, so it was like, unless they were actually going to get a crit, there was no way they were killing her, basically. Assassin Marianne worked out pretty well. Go you, Marianne. Assassin Ignatz. It was a bit tougher. I mean, we played him more of a support character, so it's kind of hard to complain that he wasn't doing much damage, but he wasn't doing much damage. Giving him 11 swords seemed an alright idea, because not unlike Lawrence, he kind of has a decent balance of those two. His Dex and Luck were pretty good, but I feel like he still didn't get very many crits, but it's partially because I wasn't having him do much physical stuff with the killer bow, because his strength fell behind most of the time. It tends to be the idea to make him an archer, but I might even, well, I don't know. I think Assassin was kind of the wrong play anyway, because I was playing to his strength and bows, but then giving him sword fare, so it's like he wasn't really good at... He struggled with doing good at much, but as a support character, he excelled. Getting both rallies and being able to do break shot was great. Ward arrow is useless, I hate it. It's not useless, but mostly the people you want to take... If it's a normal mage, I usually find, like, basically anyone else would have a better time just meleeing them, or like, hitting them with physical damage. And if it's a powerful mage, they usually have unsealable magic anyway. I never used Haste Slice once, but Break Shot was really useful. I didn't realize quite how good it was, because you know what part of it is because in most runs on Maddening especially, you're much slower than your opponents, so -5 defense, +5 damage, it's like, alright, but if you're faster than your opponents, like we frequently were in this route, and mercifully his speed was good enough that he was able to dodge some stuff and everything. Hitting someone with Break Shot and then having one of your people go in with a Brave Sword or a Brawling is like, could be like +20 damage, that could be really good. So very much, it was kind of hard to keep him alive and kind of hard to get him experience, but as a support archer, he was unmatched. Good job. Assassin Raphael. His speed did end up falling behind a bit in the end, compared to like he wasn't really outspeeding anyone. of the enemy team. But having his dex high was super good, because his luck is already alright. And he got some extremely helpful crits on in there, and anytime he was able to double with a training bow, which he did quite frequently early on, was incredibly useful. And even still, he ended up with a strength of 44. I still probably, given the choice, would prefer to go with him something that was all strength based, to really lean into that strength growth, or maybe even armor one. But he still tanked quite a bit with his good health, and his, above average for anyone, but not above average for this route, dodge, because of the speed. Did make him a pretty capable dodge tank in several ways. Well, not as in a capable enough dodge tank that we could say, okay, 4 of these hits will kill him, but 3 won't, so I have faith he'll dodge at least one kind of thing. I feel like we did that a lot. But yeah, he was absolutely unstoppable with a bow. He was pretty great. I'm glad we got the inexhaustible for him. Well done, Raphael. Petra was, of course, born to be an assassin. Her speed is already crazy good, so she was an excellent secondary dodge tank for us. It was pretty unfortunate that her strength fell behind so much as it did in this route, and I didn't really have the foresight. I should have... Since her speed was already so good, I should have been giving her heavier weapons earlier. Like, the Silver Sword only weighs her down 4, and her speed is already, like, ridiculously good, so... I should have been giving her bigger weapons earlier on. That was definitely on me, but... As a secondary dodge tank, especially someone who had some good axe breaker and started out with some good strength, so she was very, very useful in dealing damage earlier on when we got her. And, of course, Finesse Blade was awesome for her, because her dex was pretty good. There's not much special to say about that. Petra was just born to play the assassin role. It's just we had some unfortunate luck on the strength. But she was crazy sharp. Dodge tank Claude. I mean, avoidance of 119 without even doing anything. I don't think I need to say much more than that. Dodge tank Claude was amazing, but he got a staggering number of crits as well. And the Brave Sword on him, because he was already so fast and, had decent strength and the Sword Fair, was pretty great. But yeah, making him Dancer for Sword Dance and with the Sword Avoidance, because his Charisma is also really good. I think he makes a good candidate for a Dancer, and the fact that we multi-classed him Dancer and Assassin to make him just the best dodge tank there ever done I'm mighty happy with. And actually, him being a dodge tank is especially useful with his Lesser Lineage, Lesser Lineage Plus, which gives him the pass, basically. I don't know how I didn't remember that he had that from any other route, but damn, man, that's extremely useful. I have no notes. Dodge tank Claude was amazing. Assassin Hilda was a little bit of a tough one because, strength and speed are already kind of her things. We made strength a little less than if she had been a warrior, which she would be normally, and speed a little more than she would have normally. So strength and speed are basically inverted here. She was a very useful gambit user on account of her good charisma, although that more came into play later on. She had some very solid strength in her, and especially early on, her strength and speed were very good to have her. We had her do a lot of doubling with training bows and stuff. Once again, I should have given her the Brave Bow much earlier. Her as another weapon master, just like Claude, like Lawrence, ended up pretty good though. Her being able to run in curve shot with her good strength, run in and smash with her good strength and dex gave her some good accuracy with the hammer. With any axe weapon. And then of course being able to do sword type stuff with the Sword Fair. She was a pretty good all-rounder. She was a little on the squishy side. Her defenses aren't that good, and her speed was only pretty good, so she wasn't dodging absolutely loads. And her health was pretty good, so she was able to tank a bit of stuff. I think this is kind of again with like Lauren's, where it's like this ended up all right. She got many clutch things there, and I think her curved shots, especially early on in the game, she was really good with the bow. Curved shot to pepper on like an extra 30% of someone's health, or not curved shot to get a double because she was so fast that early on, was ridiculously useful. Good job, Hilda. Probably I would lean toward axe class for you in the future. I think I made you a Wyvern Lord in my first go, and I think that was probably turned out better, but Assassin Hilda is pretty good, especially when it gives you her extra speed to take the hurt to slow enemies with like a hammer, say. Although the hammer is friggin' heavy. Leone is an amazing assassin because of her dex and speed already being so good. Like with Petra, I think we had some bad luck with her strength being kind of low. Normally her strength is much better than that, I would think. Her being sort of a secondary dodge tank, but mostly just like an incredible crit unit, was, in a word, thrilling. It was just so much fun to be able to just I'll throw a crit there with Leone whenever. And even though we didn't have her doing loads of stuff with a bow, her aptitude with Fail Not was pretty great. I messed up in the middle by kind of giving her a break shot and trying to also play for her sort of being a support unit. I should have given her curve shot from way long ago because she kept missing with Fail Not and would have been way more useful if not for that. And her defense, it's been 20 for 20 levels. It grew so much in the first 30 episodes of the game, and it looked like she was going to be a serious physical tank, and then it kind of stopped being that way. But for the beginning of the game, it was very useful for that because we could put her out to repost and kill people with crits, and it was totally fine. But yeah, dex of 51, crit of 115, not much more to say there. She was pretty damn useful. If we'd gotten a bit more lucky with the strength, she would have been basically untouchable. But even then, I mean, it's pretty hard to complain about where she ended up, especially since Curse the Shia Sword which I also didn't realize how good that was till this route. Gives 14 might by itself. Pretty sweet. And Assassinate is a move that she has that gives her extra accuracy and dodge, which is sweet. And it helps you with crit avoidance as well, which I didn't realize also till this route. There's a lot of things I learned in this route. Happy, my dearest. As a physical tank, turned out surprisingly well. I mean, of course, we spent a lot of our resources getting her lots of health and defenses and stuff. It's just a build choice that I friggin' love, like what I did with Fortress Annette in Azure Moon. I just love someone who's got a lot of physical defense, but then has a high magic attack, because it means you can stand on the front lines and just decimate everyone who comes, because most people who are going to attack you with physical stuff have low magic defense. But she also ended up with some pretty respectable strength, considering she's basically a mage archetype. So she was able to do some solid hits with training swords and stuff all the way throughout, and because she had some solid decks on her, as long as we were dealing 1 damage, she had the chance for lethality and assassinate, which ended up pretty good. As a tank, she ended up being amazing. To be honest, I was a little surprised, but I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been, considering I knew that that worked out pretty well with Annette as well. Actually, no, the other reason it was really good for her was because she had the monster lure, so that was extremely useful to be able to say, hey monsters, come over here and look at me. And also, you're doing no damage, screw you, and I do extra damage to you. That was amazingly useful to have her be able to do that. And she lethality a whole bunch of monsters in her time, didn't she? And then once we got the Arcane Shield, it was over, no one could crit her. Because that was the main problem with it, actually, was not her defense in the end, or her health, it was that her luck was really bad. She struggled a bit early on because her charisma is pretty low. A third of the base value is still 9. It's okay, Happy, I found you very charming. Man, just think if we had been playing on Azure Moon, we could have gotten the Dusker battalion that gives you 10 defense. Oh, that would have been awesome. Catherine was pretty sweet. I never did give her a battalion. I probably should have bitten the bullet at some point. Bitten? That doesn't sound right. But it did help her. She was quite helpful along a fair bit of the way for being able to tank this, especially with her good speed, which she was dodging a lot, and her aptitude for swords already made her give her axe breakers, so she was excellent for taking down axe people way early on. Obviously had some pretty respectable damage out on her the whole time. She did fall a little bit behind. Her strength was always pretty good, but for some reason I always felt like she was not doing as much damage as I was expecting. And the other trick was that she had Thunderbrand, which is awesome that she started with that, but its accuracy is 70, and even though her dex seemed to be pretty good, she had pretty poor chances to hit almost all the time with it. But nevertheless, the fact that she already had an aptitude for brawling, I think, so we were able to get her healing focus pretty fast. She was already good with swords, so we got her the cool skills pretty fast. She's got Voutloyant Strike. She got her with Finesse Blade, taking 5 less damage by default. We had a lot of good stuff going for her. Not tons in the way of defenses, but the Fighting Spirit did help with that. Especially for, she was basically the main thing that she was amazing at was taking down axe people. That was awesome. Lysithea, as a rogue, again, not dissimilar to Marianne, there were some pretty useful things about that, being able to get her speed up high so that she could dodge the odd thing. And she had just enough defense and health that it wasn't really wrecking her, because I think taking mage classes usually lowers your chance of getting defense, right? So since she didn't have that, she did get a little defense, and it was usually just enough to make it so that she'd survive 1 hit, which was very useful to let her soul blade stuff. And of course, Axebreaker again because of her excellence in sword. But yeah, her magic grew amazingly. We gave her a magic staff, which works even if you're not a mage, which is awesome. Soul blade and Levin sword, GG, easy. She took down the last boss. Oh yeah, and her good dex. Her dex was even better than her magic. We basically had her take down Gwendol and Nemesis all by herself, right? I mean, I helped a little bit with Nemesis, but she did most of it. But again, low strength made it a tough deal early on. But fortunately, they give you Wrath Strike pretty early on, so you can, even if your strength sucks, you can still be doing some damage before you get your kind of special niche. A rogue with 11 sword rocks, man. It's awesome, and her excellent dex led for some really amazing crits. And lethality. She was very, very sharp-eyed to this one. Whether it was weakening it up so that someone else could get a kill or just bringing down an entire boss by herself, Lysithea was incredible in this run. And I think that brings it back to the beginning. The only one I skipped is Hapi because I just moved him. Hapi as a rogue was pretty good. I think my strength did sort of, a lot of my growths were pretty wobbly. I was sort of not growing in speed as much as I wanted certain times, and then was growing in strength others and not. I was kind of all up and down. My defense was good sometimes, and then it was kind of bad others, and it didn't really end up being all that much. I ended up with some pretty solid dex and speed though, so I was getting good doubles with the Sublime Creator Sword and with the archery and everything. Giving him the Fetters Dromi ended up pretty good. I'm not sure there's anyone else I would have chosen to have those. Yeah, strength, again, kind of like Leone, strength could have ended up higher for me, but he was unusually kind of an all-rounder. He had a bit of defense sometimes, a bit of magic defense others. He was fast enough to dodge tank some stuff sometimes. Got some good crits sometimes. That's how we took down the Death Knight, was with his Sublime Creator Sword, which was pretty lucky. He got his alert stance by the end. He was able to do some solid damage with Sublime Heaven and with just doubling with Training Sword and Wo Dao. He was unusually pretty much an all-rounder. But Feathers Dromi made him very useful to be able to, like, run in, because he was so fast and had some decent strength on him, to run in and, like, pepper 2 shots and then run out so then someone else could finish it off was very useful. Especially in a run where we didn't have any mounted units. And I suppose that brings us to the end of all I wanted to talk about with our units. Let's stand on this little platform and look out at Garreg Mach, shall we? And I think most of what I said about this game before in my Azure Moon run stands. Most of my criticisms, my adulation, so on and so forth. Surprise reinforcements that attack on the same turn they show up sucks. That's just trial and error. That's not a game. I hate that. Never do that again. I can speak a little bit more about some of the DLC stuff because we did some DLC paralogs, played with some DLC characters, and used some DLC... Didn't use any DLC classes, I guess. We'll be doing some of those in Crimson Flower. I like the addition of the DLC. The addition of the Abyss down there and the new, the Pagan Altar is pretty cool, being able to turn in stuff in for Renown to speed along the statue improvements or get some nifty gear up front, because I feel like you get a lot of stuff like tons of meat and vegetables and stuff that you're not necessarily going to use all of. So to add an extra use for those is nice. The dogs as well. Now and then you can get some neat materials out of them, which is sweet. I didn't use the Chalice of Beginnings, but I bet it's pretty cool. Well, in Crimson Flower, we're going to go all in on the DLC stuff, so we'll get a chance to use it then. I wasn't super keen on the paralogs, but to be fair, we were playing an unusual run on the hardest difficulty, and it was kind of assuming, because it's a DLC paralog, I guess they were assuming you would be using the DLC stuff, and so you'd have better stats and the Chalice of Beginnings and everything. Which is why they made it a bit extra punishing. But this stupid reinforcements. Just one of the things that struck me so much about this run is that the missions were so much more fun when I knew what was going on. So I feel like they sacrificed a lot of the fun sometimes just by keeping the mystery alive. And it's like, I get it would be kind of lame, like it seems lame surface level to be like, on turn 3, an enemy will come from this wall. But it would probably be more fun because then you'd be able to work that into your strategy. One thing I had thought. All right, I've got my notes. I've got a bunch of things for the end review. This is actually going to turn out longer than the Azure Moon finale. One thing I had thought was that maybe something that they could have added was a feature from the base called like Scout or something, where you send like 2 or 3 of your units off to scout ahead for the next story mission. It raises their bond together. It maybe takes a day, like one of your free days, but then it gives you a layout of the map and all the enemies and their stats, and lets you know where enemies will be like reinforcing from and stuff. I think that would probably have been. That would have been a cool feature to have. I don't know how it would have been balanced, but and like maybe you would have a chance of getting that information or not, and the chances will be increased by the units being higher and their individual luck and charisma stats maybe to like suss out the enemy's movements or something like that. So that luck and charisma have a bit more that they can do, and that you wouldn't be so surprised by all this stuff. I guess their assumption is that if it annoys you like it annoys me that the reinforcements come out of nowhere, they assume you're just going to look it up. I guess that's fair, but like I still would have preferred it just be in the game that they told you. And just the one other criticism I want to throw out before I check my notes is I've mentioned before, like a lot of people pan this game's visuals on release. I don't actually mind the model fidelity and textures and all that as much as I think some of the animations could be a bit... Well, less that the animations could be cooler. I wish there were more animations. I feel like sometimes, like, Sword Dance, Soul Blade, and Wrath Strike, all these cool different things that could have their own awesome animations, all just have the same one where they hold it behind their head and then swing it. Like, can you imagine how cool it would be if Sword Dance, like, they actually did, like, a little, like, the thing where they, like, darted from foot to foot and then, like, lurched in for the thing and then lurched back? It would be cool. And there's also some slight weirdness, like where when you dodge an attack, it feels like your dodge animation always happens like a second after it really should. It looks like they stab right through you and then you go, and backflip. It looks a little strange. So some little animation tweaks would really bring this game into... I think it would be way more visually interesting just to have a few more of those, because the ones there are some really awesome ones there, especially anything they do on the back of a wyvern. It looks really cool. Like there's the axe crit where you do like a front flip and land on them. There's I think Claude has a crit on Wyvern back where he like does a backflip and fires in the air, and then the Wyvern swoops around and catches him and stuff. It's just a few more of those would be cool. But to be clear, I'm leading with criticisms, but I had a lot good to say about this in Azure Moon, and most of that stands. I love this game to bits for its characters, its themes, its music, obviously. I still find the gameplay very enthralling. I absolutely love. I think it's a testament to how good this game's buildcraft is that we all picked the same class and all ended up so differently in playstyle, like all our characters. The fact that I could make a rogue and make them a tank is just so cool to me. And I think I've talked a lot about how Claude's route differs from Azure Moon already, and I don't need to speak too much more about it. I liked it more this time than I did the first time, though. I felt like I noticed a bit more of Claude's arc going into it, especially in the Academy section. I guess the part of it is the first time I played this route, I was hot off Azure Moon and expecting it to be as in your face as Azure Moon is, and Azure Moon is very in your face. Whereas being that Claude is sort of a cards close to his chest kind of guy, it wouldn't be that way. I still think that they could have leaned a bit harder into Claude's struggle in terms of something that you get to see in this route. I feel like you usually see him at his best points, and again, you kind of hear more about the struggles he's faced rather than get to see them. But you still, it's not like you don't understand Claude. You definitely do, and I think I absolutely love him as a character, and just as a person, he's just super cool, and it just feels so. It's always so much fun to team up with him because you feel like you're, even though he keeps stuff from you still feel like you're being let in on his master tactician side, especially when you pull plays like we did at Groner Field. Anyway, so in spite of all of the rage this game, I mean, like I say in the playlist description for this game makes me do it all. Rage, cry, swoon, it's all here, all in this playthrough. Right, I probably have a bunch of notes. Let me rapid fire these. Oh, actually fewer than I thought. Yeah, I mentioned this one already. I think it would have been cool if, I feel like Crimson Flower and Verdant Wind especially, it would have been cool if during the time skip, like while Byleth is like dead, if you had a flashback to, for Claude, it would be like trying to get into Fodlan from Elmira while people are like, always attacking him and stuff. Just like a little bit of time to play as just the house leaders, which gives you that sense of Byleth being away for a long time, but also to bring you a bit closer to them, so you can see their struggle more personally. It's less necessary, I feel, for Dimitri, but Silver Snow, Verdant Wind, and Crimson Flower, I think it would be cool if Verdant Wind you get to play as Claude and Elmira for a bit, like in a flashback when he was like young, with like Nadir maybe and Judith by his side, and like it's a short, like they're like tiny missions where you only have like 2 or 3 people. And it's like you have to be very tight with your resources and stuff. Kind of like the DLC. For Crimson Flower, it would probably be Edelgard and Hubert. Hubert helping Edelgard escape from the dungeon that she was kept in. And maybe you have one of her siblings as a teammate, but then they die at the end. Silver Snow, you could play as Sedith and Flame during that last battle in Xanadu or something like that. I don't know, I feel like just something to give you a bit more that in those routes, you actually get to play as those main characters without Byleth for a bit, and you get to see a bit more of the story. Would be really cool. Another thing I want to add for the end review here, I like very much that about Claude's character, that they make it clear that even though he's a good guy and we like him, and you're meant to, and he has the world's best interests at heart, he's absolutely not above violent means, and he will weigh the cost of certain people's lives with his ideals. And I think it fleshes him out and makes him more interesting, that they don't really shy away from it either. It's not like he pretends to be a pacifist exactly. He would rather avoid bloodshed, but if it means killing people, he's gonna. And I think right before you go to fight Edelgard, he even says that, right? He's like, I'd rather not kill her, but if she's gonna threaten my friends, like, it's her or them, and I'm picking them every time. I feel like it gives more power to him in his dream, that you can see that he is obviously a good person, but is willing to sacrifice those things. The scout base option, I already talked about that. That would be cool. And the other thing about that whole dichotomy of Claude, being a good person, willing to do, well, I guess would you call them bad things? I mean, murder's bad, even if it's in a war, like, there are no good guys in a war. It's that dichotomy of him being a nice guy and a good guy, and being willing to do, pretty vicious and violent things, and trick people and stuff to get where he wants, which is a good place, ultimately. It's cool, because on the one hand, you might think it's like, well, you can't be a good person and do bad things, but it's like, yeah, it's not that simple, right? And that sort of two halves element is also neat because of Claude's character being being that he's mixed race, and that the two races have very different connotations within this world. Fodlandites see the Elmirans as being, brutish and aggressive, and Elmirans see the Fodlandites as being cowardly and hiding behind words. And Claude, being sort of a dichotomous character, exhibits power and I guess you could call it aggression, but also exhibits tact and charisma and good negotiating skills and persuasiveness and not pacifism, but the ability to avoid conflict, I guess, when it suits him. So the fact that you've got this dichotomous character who it's like, well, neither side really defines him, and that's kind of also how it is about his race, but also that the races themselves can't be so easily defined as all Fodlanites are cowardly sneaks and all Elmirans are brutish rogues. I like that the storytelling with his actual writing enforces the message that he himself is trying to enforce. It's cool. I mean, that's just good writing. Good and interesting writing. Oh, and that was actually the only page I had left of Verdant Assassins. That was way fewer notes than I thought I ended up with. So at last we come to the end. I'm so happy for you, Happy. I want to give her a big old hug. She fought so hard to get here, and she saved the damn world. But I suppose we end our journey here, overlooking Garreg Mach. I'm sure Happy and Hoppy are right there now, still getting each other's names mixed up. They're probably right in that tallest tower right over there, currently signing like a bill for the whole United Kingdom of Fodlan that says, this one's Happy, this one's Hoppy, get it right. That's gonna be really tedious for them. Mwah, mwah. Here's to you, Happy. Oh, So that's the last word on this route. Next video on the channel is Ace Tyranny Spirit of Justice Part 22, where we're finishing up the investigation and it'll be back to the court before we know it. But after that will not, in fact, be more Verdant Wind Assassins Only Run, the longest run on our playthrough, our channel so far. We'll be starting with our new game, because the schedule now goes Wii Sports, Kid Icarus Uprising, Wii Sports, Spirit of Justice. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. Yes, indeed, we're starting our Wii Sports 100% run, which is gonna be just something else, man. I can't even wait. It's gonna be so weird. And don't go anywhere after that, because after one of those 3 games is finished, we'll be starting the Stanley Parable, which is pretty short, I'm given to understand, but we may be going through it multiple times to get multiple endings, because I think there may be multiple endings. I'm not really sure. I don't know a lot about the game. I only know the bare basics, that it's like a sort of parody take on game design as a whole, and it makes you think a lot about game design tropes and stuff, and it's like sort of very witty and unusual. But I think it's only supposed to be like 3 or 4 hours long, so it shouldn't be a terribly long playthrough, and I don't know if we'll be going back for multiple endings. I will have to ask when we get there. I'm quite excited for that as well. I imagine Kid Icarus will be the game we finish next, because we're quite close to the end of that. And with that said, I can't bear to not play a game with Happy anymore. I know I say this about all the characters in this game, but Happy really has a special place in my heart now. She's just so real, and so like you can feel that she has motivations that are human, and just so human and good and hearted, and I like her a lot, and I'm gonna cry because I'm so happy that she ended up with Hobby, and that Hobby ended up with her, that they liked each other, and their emotions. I turned off the camera and stopped recording, and then I really started crying again, because just thinking about Happy and how much she would have had to go through before then, and then to still have and the world wasn't what she thought, because her village was all peaceful and chill, and then she went out to see more, and then everyone treated her like horribly, and then the fact that she still went above the ground to save them all, and she's just so nice and good, and she went through so much. And, anyway, that's fine. I love you, Happy, forever and ever. Please don't die to any giant lizards anymore. Okay, sorry. Compose myself. Rip the tears in my eyes. It's the messiest thing to any of these playthroughs ever. This game means a lot to me. I'm sure I'll be back before long. I can't stay away for too long, and the series, of course, still means a lot to me, so even if it's not this game, we'll be playing Fire Emblem again sometime for sure. Freaking love Fire Emblem. Can't wait to play a bunch of the older games we haven't played yet. Sorry, I'll stop rambling now. That's all. Thank you so very much for coming around to this longest playthrough of our channel thus far. If you stuck around this far, you are a friggin' champ. You're the hero of Fodlan. You should be the one swinging around that sword made of a spine. Thank you so much for coming around. Hopefully I will see you around. Admiral's gonna be out of here now. Peace! Bye! Bye. Happy says bye too. Bye. It's been a minute now, right? Oh, right, no, it's after the dragons, and there's another few voice of tongue things. Oh boy. And unfortunately, I don't get a, super in this bit.